Hi, I'm Doug, your tech support representative here at Atlantic British, and in this video we want to introduce to you the maintenance kit we make for the dynamic response ACE system in your Land Rover Sport, both the supercharged and the naturally aspirated. Now, just a quick reminder to see if your vehicle is equipped with the dynamic response. You're going to find you will have a small reservoir with a yellow cap on the passenger side of the radiator. It'll look almost identical to the reservoir that's on the driver's side for the power steering. If you have this reservoir here, you do have the ACE system, or dynamic response as it's referred to by Land Rover. So what we have is simply a filter that is recommended be replaced every 75,000 miles. You see we have here a downloadable maintenance sheet that you can get off of our website, and it can be printed. It's a service that's recommended every 75,000 miles to change the filter and replace the fluid. And with the kit, and this will be number ACESKB, and so I'll mention that name to any of our salesmen, they'll know exactly what to get you. And you have a drain plug, and this is also the access plug for the filter, a new O-ring, and the filter itself. You also get 2 bottles of ACE fluid, which is the recommended fluid on these systems. Now, some people will say you can use Dexron 3 or some other fluids that are out there, but Land Rover strongly recommends this fluid is formulated specifically for this system. And we found in the past that really this is the best stuff to use. So that's essentially what you get with the kit, and in a minute we're going to raise the Sport in the air and we're going to show you how to do the basic service. Alright, so we've shown you the ACE kit. Basically, this is going to be the same procedure on both the Disco 2s with ACE or the Sports with roll stability. This is your valve block. You'll see your hydraulic lines run in, and in the bottom of the valve block is this 1.5 inch plug. Now, with the vehicle up in the air and the engine not running, there's a minimal amount of pressure, if any at all, in these lines. So what we're going to do is we're going to remove this plug and replace the filter. And you're going to need an 1.5 inch socket, which you may have to only get in 3/4 drive. So we've got a reducer onto a 1/2 inch drive. Slide that over, pop it loose. Now there's a couple O-rings on that plug. Now, one thing to note, and you'll see I'm wearing safety glasses, because even though I know there's very little, if any, pressure in there, there probably is going to be some splash. You really don't want to get this fluid in your eyes. So make sure you put a pair of safety glasses on before you take this plug out. And you can feel there's no pressure in there whatsoever. The pressure is only developed when the hydraulic pump is being turned by the engine. You're only going to lose a minimal amount. Sometimes you can grab this filter with your fingernails and pull out, but more than likely I'm going to need a small screwdriver, and we'll pop it out with that. Alright, so I'm going to take 2 screwdrivers and then basically work them opposite each other and lever the filter down a little bit. It's going to stick a bit. Now it's down far enough I can get my hands on it. And there's your filter with your O-ring. You don't really see much material on there, but if you were to get in there, you would find that you're probably restricted by about 30 to 40%. And you really don't want any real restriction in there. The filter's there to catch any debris or buildup that gets in there. So, what we have here now is we're going to install the new filter. You notice that the O-ring is on the top side, so you want to make sure that you install the new filter in the same direction. Going to have a little fluid on your hands anyway, so it's good to wet down the O-ring a little bit so it has less of a chance of ripping as you install it. And just wiggle around a little bit and push it up in place, and that'll hold itself. We'll get a new plug. And the plug itself has a new O-ring as well, so that's going to seal up nice. And you want to make sure there's no excessive debris or anything around that area where the O-ring is going to seat, so that we get a nice, good, clean seal. Okay, we're in finger tight. Set the ratchet. And really all you're going to do is just seat that big nut, and then just a little tweak in there just to seat it and lock it down. And wipe off the excess. And then we're going to drop it down and we're going to top off the reservoir. Something I do want to mention in this video is we give you enough fluid to basically refill or flush the whole system. When you remove the filter, you're going to maybe lose about a half a quart. And so what I would say is this is also a good opportunity to get some more fluid out of that, to get some fresh fluid in. These two hydraulic lines go to the roll stability bar that you have in the front and the rear of this vehicle. And you can loosen that screw and that screw and just unseat the line. And what it'll do is what's running up through the line will drain out. There'll be a good, probably almost close to half a quart there. And you can do the same to the rear, which we'll show you in a second. And you can get to one of the lines on the rear. By draining that down, that's just going to get more of the older fluid out and almost constitute a flush for the system. The cleaner the fluid, the better it's going to work. All right, so I'm going to show you, this is the one that you can back off on the rear. And all you need to do is back it off 3 or 4 turns. Fluid will drain, lock it back down, wipe it, make sure it's not leaking, and that again is going to get some more of that dirty fluid out of there. And with the 2 quarts, you'll have more than enough to top off the system. Alright, so what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to start this up and let it run for a few seconds. It'll displace the amount of fluid that we've taken out down below in the valve block, and then the level will finally drop on there. And remember, this is the reservoir for your roll stability control. This is going to be on the passenger side of the radiator. And on the driver's side, you have an almost identical reservoir, and this is for your hydraulic power steering. What's good is that the ACE fluid that you get with the roll stability kit is the same fluid that you're going to use for the power steering. So it's good to have a little bit of that around. It's a petroleum-based fluid. You're going to get some evaporation. You'll get a little bit of loss, so it's always good to keep that topped off. Okay, so we're going to start it and run this. All right, so we run this for a few minutes. We let the air displace out of the system. And we're going to top this off just a little bit. Didn't really take that much fluid out to begin with. But as I said, if you decide to loosen the lower lines on the front and rear sway bars and you want to drain those, you're going to use probably a quart, maybe a quart and a half to top it all back off. Then you may want to drive it, take it out for a run, work it back and forth a little bit so that you need to activate the bars, and then let it settle down and recheck the level one more time just to top it off. And again, make sure on these systems you only use the ACE fluid that Land Rover manufactures for these systems. There really isn't any other acceptable substitute for this. So again, when you're ready to change all this over and do your maintenance on your ACE or your roll stability control, just get a hold of one of our knowledgeable salesmen at 1-800-533-2210. And thanks for watching.